right, so that's Brenya doing his thing, giving us some nice vibes this morning. Well, we're going to get into a conversation about how to support others during an economic crisis. Of course, you know that we have quite a bit of an economic crunch going on globally as well as specifically in Ghana. And we need to talk about this and figure out how to manage the situation. Well, before we get into that, I introduce my guest to you. I just want to wish Richmond and Rosemond Crunchy a happy 10th anniversary. May you have a fantastic, season as you're enjoying your anniversary, and many, many more
10
happy
on the
years.
10th.
Yeah, I know, right?
10 on the 10th.
Many more happy years ahead.
And a very happy 5th birthday to my son.
Oh,
Frederick Mate
wow.
Mate Donolo Etiam Abe.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Thank you. He's 5 today.
Yeah.
Big 5.
Mother of a 5-year-old. It's not easy. Ask those who have been there. Well, let's introduce to you our guest for this morning, Reverend Benny Osedria. He is a customer experience, HR, and performance consultant coach. And he is just an all-round fantastic human being.
He's just a big man.
Yeah.
He's just a big man,
He's here.
you know.
He's gonna be talking to us. Hi, Benny, how are you?
Hi, David.
Hi, Benny.
How are you doing?
I do well. How about you, sir?
Very, very good.
well,
Very good. Very good.
Very
Yeah.
So, we're just thinking. We're having conversations before you're coming today about what we should talk about. In these times, because everybody's situation is so unique, yet so interspersed, and interconnected, it's very difficult to tell people what to do to overcome the situation that we're in, economically, financially, and whatnot. However, we're just thinking, you can do something to help someone. And a lot of the time when we want to help people, or when people ask for help, our mind straight away go to money, financial help. But I think there are other ways in which we may be willing or may be able to help people. So we are the man for the job. Let's get right into the conversation. If people are going through a difficult time, how can we help others? How can we support others?
Well, cherished viewers, you're right. I think crisis is something that would happen at least once in your lifetime. Unfortunately for us, it's happening globally again. And for us in Ghana, we're marked as maybe one of the hardly hit. And for that matter, our approach to a lot of things must be looked at in a different way. Of course, there are so many things that have been spoken about, but particularly talking about support. How do we support? I think I would like to start from who should be thinking of supporting.
Okay.
And I think as an individual, there are people within your circle that are very important when it comes to a support structure. First and foremost, I think I'll talk about family. Your family, your friends. It's very important that they understand they have a role to play.
Okay.
I would also extend that to employers. Employers play a major role in how they can be able to support their staff. See, there are some few employers who could add something a little to their staff. Others cannot. And this is to no fault of theirs. It depends on the macro factors that are affecting their business.
Right. Okay.
And there are few things, even in their micro, that they can really be able to have, full, manipulation of. And for that, they might not be able to do increases or, some of those things. However, there are also some few things they can do to support their staff, especially if the payment could come a bit early or on time. There are some people who just take their minds off it as if it's business as usual. And it gets to stretch their employees, exactly, and they don't communicate. So I think employers have a major, role or a part to play in this. Also, let me speak to some service providers. I know on radio stations and everyone talks about the food element. I would like to go to the medical spaces, the hospitals. Okay. Today, when you go to the hospital, doctors are used, or hospital administrators are used to booking people in for sleepovers just so that they can also be able to make some extra bucks for things that are honestly not necessary.
I thought that thing was just a myth.
Chief, it's not. You see, some hospitals have targets, and they need to meet their target. So if you come around, they will book you in for examination. And some of those examinations might take you 48 hours to be in there. At the end of the day, at least some few coins you get go.
No.
And those are things that can impact and amass some stress on the citizenry. Sometimes we could even talk about pharmacy shops. There are some medications that can help without having to go on to the exorbitant
super
one.
expensive
Sometimes, not just that, they even add more. Sometimes maybe the little thing can fix, but it's, okay, I think in addition to that. And this is where you can see that people are pushing the boundaries a lot.
I have an example, a case in point, where a friend of mine whom you know had some kind of infection and all that. But when they went to the clinic, right, the hospital, the kind of plethora of exams that were done, right? It was like as soon as the doctor saw the insurance card, it was like a ticket to multiply.
Let me do a whole clinical trial.
I know, right? So then what happens is that, but you see, the giveaway, which I'm sure they didn't anticipate that their client would know, was that when the blood labs came, there were no issues with the white blood cells, which is always the indicator of an infection.
That's right.
So really, the itching was an allergic reaction, not an infection. Do you see? So then, you should have seen the high-powered antibiotics that was diagnosed and was prescribed, and for 14 days at a stretch. So she now gets a second opinion from another doctor and says, "This is actually what I'm going through. This is what a person prescribed." The person says, "Take this, do it for 7 days, but please avoid all of this, which is the most expensive ones. Avoid all of it." And this is a case in point.
And I'm telling you, sometimes some of it.
And by the way, she's perfectly fine now.
Of course,
without taking any of
the
the antibiotics.
It's not only the mechanic that bend you over to take advantage of you. I'm telling you, even in our medical practice, and please forgive me, I'm just being honest. Sometimes some of these medical labs have connections with some doctors, some medical practitioners. So they will ask you to go to a specific one to get this done. And it's all a way of getting some things. I know this might sound like a big allegation or something, but I'm just being economically, apt with the realities on the ground. That listen, we need to be able to support people because the stress is real. The conditions out there are no jokes. I mean, in the place of plenty, when these things goes on, people could just ignore and let bygones be bygones and move on. But when we get to crunch times, it's ideal that we all have a bit of a shift in taking advantage of the poor person, the guy at the street corner who is struggling to even pay for the cocoa and the kose. I think it's a bit very, very unhealthy to have this thing. So I think some service providers should really consider. Of course, we can't control, drivers and mates and all the things that are going on out there. But there are aspects of what we can do by virtue of our profession to make things a bit easier for us. Also, I would like to add spouses and partners. I think that there are some people who still don't get it that things are not the same. We are not in normal times. And they are having a difficulty having a shift. Some of the issues I've had to deal with in the past few weeks indicates that, see, when people try to readjust, cut budgets and so on and so forth, some partners don't really see that we are in a red zone. And their reactions and behavior put stress in the home, which makes it very uncomfortable for everyone. I think that our spouses, whether the man or the woman, and also the children. Because, of course, kids will never know there's anything called economic crisis. They still want pizza. They still want KFC. They still want this and that. But a bit of education to the children helps. So sitting them down, you can't assume they got it.
Yeah.
Sit them down, explain things, let them understand, and gradually be able to go through this. And sometimes going for seminars together with the family, where they are having sessions with the family to sit and talk about where we are and how we can navigate through it. It also helps for to hear someone else's story, someone else's experience, and they can also be able to see the realities. So these are times that a lot of education at home and also exposing people to the information that helps matters, and it's one level of support that we can give to people. Now, one that I would add is what the Bible really recommends, that in the multitude of counselors there is safety. There is nothing wrong to speak to a professional, because you see, economic crisis can bring stress to so many aspects of your life. People get into anxiety, and then a lot of different thoughts begin
Road
to
rage,
I'm
all
telling you.
kinds of things.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
People
Because
are
I mean,
walking
I'm
around
telling you,
and they're
it's a
ticking
little
time
trigger,
bombs.
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah.
And if you're not careful and you're not emotionally intelligent, you will react to anything, especially men. Men have the easiest trigger when they are broke.
Yeah, it's true.
And see, you can argue however means. Men are cool when they got money.
Yeah.
They're the nicest things to be
And
around.
they have deep pockets.
Oh man, not where you're using a white fridge. But when men are broke, chief, it's not fun. It's not fun to be around them. Their reactions. See, money does a lot for men.
Yeah.
And especially when you live in a community where you are not ticked off as a man, if you cannot be able to take certain things off a list for the environment in which you find yourself. And I'm specifically saying men because women can get a lot of support men cannot get.
Yeah.
No matter how you approach it,
Yeah.
even in the family.
Yeah.
Outside it even gets worse for men. And especially when our community embraces the fact that the men are responsible. You take the family out, the men must poke out to pay for it. Everything that happens hovers around men. And I'm not saying this is, what happens everywhere. I'm speaking in the generics. All right. So it's ideal that we also pay attention to manage our men. And this is why it is important that if you're dating someone, if you're in a love relationship with someone, if you're married to someone, pay attention to how the communication goes, because easy things triggers. And something as little as one CD can bring blows and fights on the street, and you will find your husband, on TikTok or Facebook fighting a mate over one CD. And trust me, the embarrassment also gets to come to you. The last one I would, and this is for me personally, you see, no one can rise unassisted. Nobody, no matter who you are, someone will contribute to something that lifts you up.
Okay.
But don't also be a victim to the limitations of your helper. Because who helps you will determine how far you can go. So for example, let's say Apioko is our rich aunt.
Yeah, and she is.
And
I receive it.
I receive
it. And David is my uncle.
No, but he's Mr. Moneybags.
But he's the money man.
He's the money man.
Charlie, you're a big man. So let's say David is our uncle. Now, it's time for me to go to school abroad, possibly, or in Ghana. And David is the one sponsoring me, but Apioko is sponsoring our other cousin. Now, by virtue of the limitations of my helper, it is very likely I might not be able to have access to certain things because he is my helper, but he's limited.
He's limited. Yeah.
But when you have a helper that is deep-pocketed, a helper that is well-resourced, then of course you know that your dream can possibly see the light of day. So I said, don't be a victim of the limitations of your helper.
Okay.
And I'm saying this because a lot of us put our trust in men.
Yeah.
David, if I tell you my story,
that
is why I will say to you, maybe you can pick find help, but the ultimate help comes from above.
Amen.
And that is where I think, in the midst of this,
Yeah.
add God to your journey and you will find the
Yeah.
support.
Fantastic.
Wonderful.
Fantastic.
Always wonderful.
Yeah,
to
yeah,
have
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. Really encouraging words there. I'm going to cut out this segment and,
Yes,
and
we
share
have
with some
to.
people.
We have to. We have
Because,
to.
Yeah.
We have to.
Benny, thank you.
Thank you.
We really
Thank you so
appreciate
much,
your time.
Benny.
And this has
Thank
been
you.
a very
Thank you.
insightful and encouraging.
Not easy times. So I mean, take these words of wisdom, run with them,
Yeah.
and then also just be sensitive to the things that are going on around you and
Yeah.
what people are going through as a result
Yeah.
of that. Very, very important. Just be empathetic.
Yeah.
Just think about the person next to you. You may not have to give, but at least
Be sensitive.
Be sensitive.
Yeah. All right.
Let's take a look at entertainment highlights.
Yeah.
And the show continues.